There was once a time when people thought that Huke would become the best player in the game.
Somebody else,
Huke is so good.
And Huke is causing havoc in the middle of the map.
He was going toe-to-toe with the OpTic dynasty at just 15 years of age. But since then, there have been many ups and downs in his career. He's tasted glory across 2 different esports, including the Call of Duty World Championship that has come under heavy scrutiny multiple times, for both in-game and out-of-game reasons.
Oh my god. No, why? Don't go.
With a potential as high as Huke's, he should arguably have cemented himself as one of the all-time greats already. So where did it go wrong? This is the story of Huke. Kyler Huke Garland was born in Saudi Arabia and spent time in Portugal and the Netherlands before moving over to the States. He began competing at the young age of just 14 with Carnage Gaming, but his breakthrough came 1 year later, with the release of Advanced Warfare, the first ever jetpack Call of Duty. As the gameplay moved away from the primary importance of map awareness and more towards movement and aiming mechanics, a group of younger players emerged near the top, 2 of which were TJ Halley and Huke, who signed for Stunner Gaming. At the second event of the season in Orlando, barely 15 years of age, Huke officially announced himself to the world, posting the #1 KD ratio at the event to help his team reach the grand final. OpTic Gaming's maturity eventually prevailed, but Huke gained valuable experience to win a major in the future. But the World Championship was age restricted to 18 years plus, so Huke would have to wait a few months before getting back onto a top team. He soon landed on FaZe Clan, who had just placed 3rd at Champs. He continued to showcase his talent, helping FaZe reach the next 2 grand finals.
Wins a big gunfight in the hill though.
This is wow. Those shots from Huke just obliterated through Crimsix. And now FaZe looking to try and lock down this hill, and Huke on a 3 streak looking for the 4th.
OpTic though emerged victorious on both occasions, bouncing back from their Champs exit emphatically. Huke and Slasher were let go from FaZe to make way for the recent world champions Attach and Clayster. But Huke and Slasher bounced back on Denial Esports, making 2 more grand finals. But in a consistent trend, OpTic were just too strong again, and Huke was now unsuccessful against the Green Wall in 5 attempts. As the season came to a close, Huke was one of the best slayers in the world, considered by many pros their most feared adversary, with godlike mechanics for his age. Surely it was only a matter of time before he got his first win. But unfortunately for Huke, disaster struck as Activision announced that all tournaments would now be age restricted under the newly founded Call of Duty World League, meaning players had to be 18 and over to compete. This affected Huke's career massively, along with many others such as TJ Halley, Temp, Envoy and Kenny, as he would have to sit out the next 2 seasons. We can only imagine what he might have achieved in the following jetpack titles. But Huke did not let that prevent him from competing elsewhere, as Halo was revived by the newly created Halo Championship Series. After just competing against former Halo players in Formal, Enable and Crimsix, Huke became the first professional Call of Duty player to switch the other way. He wasted no time to make his mark in Halo.
Oh my goodness. Though.
But it is delicious, baby. Double kills coming in from Huke.
Don't do.
Oh! Send him home! Send him home!
Qualifying for the 2016 World Championship with Denial and finishing 4th. Quite remarkable for only his 2nd ever official tournament in the game.
Playing as if you've been here for years and like as if you belong here. I mean, what is giving you so much confidence?
I mean, on lane you need confidence to even do good at a tournament. So if you have confidence going into a tournament and into matches, you already know you're gonna do well.
A few months later, Huke's talents were noticed by Team Envy.
And that was one of the things that I was a little bit worried about. Nice shotgun coming in from Huke, picks up the double kill.
Huke is 17-5 right now, and that's gonna do it. Team Envies are your HCS Pro League fall season champions.
It feels unreal. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a feeling I've never had because I've got 2nd so much. So I guess you can say the curse is broken.
Huke was a champion at last. After 8 grand final defeats in a row, Huke had finally overcome the hurdle. Another victory followed for the team in Vegas, and Envy were now one of the favourites to win the 2017 Halo World Championship.
44, numbers advantage and the collapse coming in. Tom, that's gonna do it. Team Liquid stays undefeated against Team Envious and sends them down into the lower bracket.
But after losing in the first round to Team Liquid, Envy dropped down to the losers bracket, needing 6 wins in a row just to make the final. But one game at a time, Envy managed to find their form, and they made it all the way to the losers final up against Team Liquid, who had beaten them earlier in the tourney.
Doesn't matter. That flag is going in. Team Envious, the flag is there. Does he get it? Yes, he does. Team Envious for the first time.
Envy scored revenge on Liquid, booking their spot in the grand final again. It was Envy against OpTic Gaming, the E-Clasico.
It's a $300,000 money match. $500,000 to the first place team.
Sims, we are taking a look at the end of this game. McQuinn recognizing that this one's over.
2, 1. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Once again, Huke fell short in a grand final to OpTic, this time in a totally different esport. Envy did rebound at the following event in Daytona.
We have a tie game here. 53 seconds.
No! Who comes in with the triple? You little beauty. Who goes off right at the end when it's time to clutch up? Huke victory here at UMG Daytona. They know where the last guy is.
As the Halo season came to a close though, Huke turned 18, and the time had come to return to the Call of Duty landscape. Just like the Halo team, Envy Call of Duty had also suffered a grand finals defeat to OpTic at the Infinite Warfare World Championship. That team had run its course, and they blew up the roster. All players but Slasher departed to make way for Classic, Temp, and Huke. This was a reunion of the former Denial squad, who were one of the best teams towards the end of Advanced Warfare.
I have so much faith in this young team.
Expectations then were sky high, with fans expecting Huke to come out as the same player they'd seen before.
But he's gotten caught twice. Great job by Huke to get one. Swing numbers towards his way and the second on Octane. Can he get the third? He can. Just keep running at him. He's all right with that.
But as Call of Duty finally returned to boots on the ground, the roster was not the same powerhouse they were in the Jetpack era. After a top 8 placing at the Stage 1 playoffs, roster changes were eventually made.
Okay, my fire color, what are you doing?
Wait, I was about to
I'm on
push your
streaks. Like, why don't you fucking help me?
I already talked about this at the stations gallery, man. You gotta be more of a teammate.
But things didn't get any better. They failed to breach top 6. Huke was not performing as the S-tier player that he was before he made the switch, but Envy owner Hastro still trusted him to turn it around as Envy's golden boy. For the Black Ops 4 season, Envy acquired the entire Evil Geniuses roster that had just won the World Championship, plus Huke of course, given the switch to 5 vs 5. Huke now had a solid supporting cast, and he was finally showing glimpses of his potential yet again.
Up and going over to B. Huke once again slaying through.
We saw what the Slam could do last time, and this time he's going to find himself a double of Decimate and Huke finding another kill on the plate there, and that's going to be a Hellstone. Will he find another Huke? He's turning up here for Envy.
But unfortunately for him, Envy were not even close to being a good team. Aside from a 4th place finish at CW London, they failed to even crack the top 8 mark elsewhere. With this, Huke forced a move through to Splice on loan for the rest of the season. Expectations were high for that team, but there was a lot of pressure on Huke to succeed now.
6 versus 3. Huke's still on the hill. He finds 2, 3. Oh my god.
What?
That is why Splice wanted Huke so badly.
Many fans had gone from hyping up his Call of Duty return to considering him to be heavily overrated. And things went from bad to worse, as Splice placed top 8 at the playoffs and top 16 at the World Championship.
Run, D-Frag, run! He's trying to get away. D-Frag keeps on running away. No, you can't get him. And Splice go out of the World Championship. Team War calls an upset here.
With so much hype around his name, this return was nothing like Huke envisioned it to be. Hoping for a fresh start as Call of Duty moved into the franchising era, Huke was once again trusted by Hastro to help them win championships, despite delivering 0 grand finals in the last 2 years. With his options limited, Huke decided to join forces with unproven rookies Illy and Shotzi on Envy's new franchise, the Dallas Empire, even taking a pay cut so Envy could afford Shotzi's buyout from Splice. But with Clayster and Crimsix both released from their respective teams, Empire had the experience and leadership they needed to succeed. The community though couldn't figure out why the pros still rated Huke so highly after the previous seasons, but many pro players still remembered getting world starred by him in 2015 and knew that he still did have that potential deep inside him.
Head back to the first hill on this second rotation. Yeah, Huke trying to get in. He's able to find 2 kills. Able to snap onto the third as well. And with the defuse for Illy and the smile from Shotzi, we have ourselves a new champ.
At the Los Angeles home series, Huke tasted victory once again as Empire took down the Minnesota Rocker. They continued to win tournaments online as the pandemic hit, and once again, Huke's team was one of the favourites going into the World Championship.
Players are lying in wait, and that's going to be the shots. Oh, Kleenex! Oh my! And Huke comes in for the 2-piece!
Seemingly nothing that he can do, and there's the final kill. Dallas Empire get it done.
After 4 failed attempts, Huke was a world champion at last. Despite all the criticism from the previous seasons, Huke was reveling in the CDL era and had finally found a team where the talent, chemistry and mindset were all aligned for glory. Crimsix even described the roster as the best team that he was ever part of. Empire were looking to continue their momentum in 2021, but with competitive going back to 4 versus 4, Clayster was forced out. Huke though started the season off hot and was undoubtedly one of the best players in the game in the first stage of the season.
That difficult to get up top. Huke has made his way over and the man has 31 kills to his name.
But Empire lost in the grand finals of the Stage 1 Major to FaZe, and in a massive shock moved Huke to the bench. Fans were dumbfounded with this decision, but Dallas explains their reasoning was that Huke was holding back the progress of the team. Crimsix specifically pointed to decision-making errors.
And then Crim said, yeah, I was like, what's going on? Explain, please. He goes, what do you mean explain? If you look at the minimap, it speaks for itself.
This saga began to fuel the fire of the other side of Huke's playstyle. For all the ability and slaying in the world, bad in-game decisions proved too much for Empire to handle. As Empire made it clear that Huke would not be returning to the starting lineup, that's when 100 Thieves CEO Nadeshot saw the opportunity. LA Thieves acquired Huke in what was reported to be one of the biggest buyouts in Call of Duty history. Nadeshot realised how much talent Huke had and saw it as a no-brainer to sign him up. This was his chance to prove his old team wrong and continue the winning streak. But in yet another huge surprise, Huke was benched after just 4 matches.
Just watching the game, it just looked way more difficult on all the players. You know, he was his playstyle is very individual based.
With Kyler's playstyle, we saw he was taking a lot of routes and really playing to guarantee a kill, but it's not necessarily what you always need. Number situations, things like that, you have to react to how your teammates are playing, what's going on the map.
After paying so much money to acquire him, the community were once again mind blown at this decision. But somebody, believed to be CEO himself Nadeshot, made the decision to bring Huke and Slasher back a few matches later, the first event on LAN since way before the pandemic. But in another absolutely wild twist, Huke would not even play at the event after misspelling his name on a COVID test. With huge doubts circulating around him already from players, analysts and the community, this only added more fuel to the fire. If these few months didn't already have enough storylines, Huke released a video on the 9th of June 2021 explaining why his previous seasons had been just so challenging.
But basically I won champs and I didn't really feel good. And it was mainly because of one thing. I, at the time, was taking Adderall.
Shockingly, Huke also admitted to taking Adderall during Empire's 2020 World Championship win, which was certainly against the rules. The CDL made no statement on this retroactively, but were believed to be attempting to shut down discussions of the topic on Zoom as The Flank, causing even more controversy. But with no action taken, Huke was still eligible to compete. Vanguard was rock bottom for Huke. He found himself without a team, and his opportunities were severely limited. But Los Angeles Guerrillas decided to take the risk and pick him up, hoping that he went back to his peak form alongside Slasher. But to add insult to injury, LAG got off to a slow start. They placed dead last in the first major of the season, and to make matters worse, Huke's teammate Gunless was unable to attend Major 2 due to illness. LAG were on the verge of placing last yet again, as they were forced to play with a substitute. It seemed like Huke's winning days were over. But LAG slowly found their momentum, especially in the search and destroy department, and before they knew it, they were in the grand finals against Atlanta FaZe, and Huke had the chance to get revenge for Major 1 in Cold War.
It's history in the making, one way or another.
LAG had done the impossible. They became the first team ever to win a major from losers round 1, and they did so with a substitute. Huke most certainly played his part in the victory, showing glimpses of his former self, especially in the big matches. Huke was hoping it was the turning point in his career, but as most of the community anticipated, Major 2 was just a stroke of good fortune, and LAG returned to their lackluster performances for the rest of the season, and failed to even qualify for the World Championship. Huke was expected to depart the Gorillas in search of another fresh start, but in a big surprise, LAG kept Huke, as at the time star player Arcetes made his way onto the roster. With now 2 world champions on the team, Gorillas were dark horses to potentially bring home another championship, with every player having a point to prove. But as you might have predicted, LAG ended up being even worse than they were in Vanguard. At Major 1 they placed no better than their own B team, the LAG Academy, and this was the final straw for Huke on LAG. He was released from the team entirely, his contract terminated, and his career in the CDL seemed to be heading towards its final chapter. But fortune smiled brightly on Huke this time around, with Scump shocking the world and announcing his retirement with immediate effect from Call of Duty Esports. And OpTic Texas were unsuccessful in their attempts to acquire Pred from the Seattle Surge. This meant that they were still looking for an SMG, and with their options fairly limited, they handed Huke the lifeline and acquired him with no buyout at all. Huke wasted no time in proving his worth, as the reunion with his former teammates Shotzi and Illy seemed to be the difference maker.
See that guy? Oh, he sees the guy right. What in the name of all things sacred? This is awkward. This is very difficult with a nuke.
He even took down his former team with a 14-kill performance in S&D.
There's Huke is able to find the first. The nade comes in. He's able to. This is when they have to try to make a move. As Huke is just gonna chow again. Finds another one-on-one versus Arcetes. That was an snapper, brother. It's about to be. Oh my! 11 and exceed has got to be terrified as Huke does it all.
Unfortunately for Huke, OpTic only finished top 4 at Major 2, and he came under heavy scrutiny for his decision against LA Thieves on map 4, Embassy Hardpoint. With the pressure on, Huke failed to watch the ladder jump up, leading to a break for Thieves and the map loss for OpTic.
Why is Kyler not looking at the fucking ladder when they have a trophy? He throws a trophy there. We think somebody's gonna jetpack up or something, or wall run? What game we playing?
But Huke bounced back in the next 2 stages, posting one of the highest KDs in the league for the next 2 sets of online qualifiers. This helped OpTic reach back-to-back grand finals, but they just didn't have the firepower or clutch factor to get over that final hurdle. And many fans blame this on Huke failing to replicate his online performances when they got to LAN. As the season was coming to an end, Huke knew how important it was to finish strongly to keep his spot on OpTic, with top SMGs like Envoy and Pred becoming free agents. He'd already won a ring with Shotzi once, and the ball was in his court to show that he could do it again.
Player, it's on to Kismet. He stays alive. He stays alive. Huke falls. It's the New York. They can win it. They can win it here. They can win it. Jay, they can win it here. They can't break in. Did they get the tick? I don't believe this. They got it. They got it. New York.
OpTic failed to dispatch of the New York Subliners, the eventual champions, after badly fumbling the 4th map Hydroelectric Hardpoint, which would have forced a deciding map. Once again, Huke was given the blame. In a seemingly unlosable scenario, Huke had pushed out too far and allowed Kismet to run through mid-map for free, surprising Huke's teammates and flipping the spawns. Scump and the Green Wall were mind-blown.
What are we doing? What are we doing? There's no fucking way. There is no way. Oh, man, are you fucking serious?
The tick, it said 0 before it switched to 250.
In the following match, OpTic were taken down by Pred and the Seattle Surge, which inevitably put any chances of Huke staying on OpTic to bed once and for all. On June the 26th, OpTic officially confirmed Huke's departure. Huke remained an enigma in the esports world, from beating the world's best in 2 esports after just taking to the stage, to failing to capitalise on his potential for years to come. He's enjoyed his fair share of high moments, but maybe less than his talent seems to deserve. Perennially held back by big mistakes that have plagued his gameplay for years, he may never taste victory again. But it's easy to forget that despite being around for approaching a decade, Huke is still only 23 years of age, and if he can finally clean up those errors, still has many more chapters yet to be written.